Back to basics is a term that has been used a lot recently in the gaming sphere. Depending on your stance on the recent direction of the Assassin's Creed series, the franchise has been kind of in a freefall lately. After 3 successful releases in the open world RPG overhaul that started with Assassin's Creed Origins, the fanbase is rather divided. These recent releases have led to many posing the question of if Assassin's Creed games of today are so far removed from the actual source material that can we even call them Assassin's Creed games anymore? This is where Assassin's Creed Mirage walks onto the scene. It is the latest entry to the series from Ubisoft that promises to strip everything back to basics. But how many times have we heard that saying before? Gone are these sprawling landscapes, the action-focused combat and stat-based gear systems. They are all replaced with back-to-basics social stealth mechanisms and a story that once again sees an underdog organisation uncover and topple a ruling dictatorship. On paper, this sounds like a dream come true for veteran fans of Assassin's Creed, and after 3 hours of hands-on gameplay with Assassin's Creed Mirage, there's certainly a lot to be excited about. However, while there is certainly promise in what we've played, it doesn't take long for concerns to rise, with Ubisoft towing the line between taking its game design too far back in time, yet also not quite far enough. Those who preserved with Valhalla's epic runtime will already know who Basim is, the plucky assassin from the Middle East who ultimately ends up becoming more of an antagonist force the more we get to know him. Mirage has Basim centre stage as its protagonist, following his journey from the very beginning as he discovers the Assassin Order and works his way up the ranks. In our preview we played through 3 sections of Assassin's Creed Mirage, one from a very early section as we got to know Basim a little more, another from during Basim's assassin training, and a much later section where our protagonist is fully acquainted with the ways of the Order. It's in the earlier section that Mirage showed the most promise. Here it's easy to see how the gameplay mechanics of Assassin's Creed have been completely stripped back to basics. Pickpocketing and social stealth are much more of a focus. While it is impossible to walk into any town in Origins, Odyssey and Valhalla without NPCs turning their head, Mirage is designed to let you slip in and out of crowds with minimal extravagance. Progressing through to Basim's combat training, things are even more bare bones here. There's a light and heavy attack, a dodge, a block, and that's about it. No Spartan kicks, no higher powers to bolster your attacks, just a single blade and your wits. There isn't even any auto healing. This is refreshing to see, and it's apparent that the combat is now intentionally designed to be a last resort, not a crutch to pass through missions via the skin of your teeth. Stealth takedowns are usually always an instant kill, whereas enemies will easily take 5 or 6 hits to take out once they're alerted, and they don't pull their own punches either. Basim can go down in just a few hits once he's discovered, further insisting that Mirage is firmly a stealth game without a focus on action. Assassin's Creed Mirage is meant to be a smaller experience, and it's in the open world section that I really got hit of a wave of nostalgia. Since Valhalla, it's definitely been a while since we've seen a properly dense or built up urban city. Of course, that's mostly down to the older time periods the last few games have occupied, but that changes slightly with Mirage, which is set in 9th century Baghdad. Despite exploring a time period before Middle Ages, Baghdad feels extremely similar to the likes of the cities we've explored in the very first Assassin's Creed, along with a mix of Constantinople from Revelations. It's alive with culture and gorgeous architecture around every corner. It's also bigger than you might think, featuring an expansive city, but also plenty of open space outside the city walls. From a brief exploration of Baghdad, it seems like exploring the place will pay off in huge ways. Just like in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, there are plenty of very short encounters that can act as a mini side quest. One entertaining interaction saw Basim help a young child get down from a high ledge by performing a leap of faith. Not only did this reward me with XP, but it also added a lot to my understanding of Basim's personality and motivations, and it all took less than a couple of minutes. Exploring the city is made all more entertaining by the return of classic parkour, which is an extremely welcome return from the older games in the series. The classic design language of buildings is back, so you can climb pretty much everything that you'd expect to be able to around the city. There are a few traversal additions too, like the inclusion of zip lines on taller buildings, pole vaults to jump across wider gaps, corner swinging, and the return of rope lifts to gain height extremely quickly. When chase sequences break out, it's exhilarating to be able to pick a tactical route through the streets and rooftops to lose your pursuers. As expected, there were a couple of times that Basim would jump somewhere completely unintentional, and it's a shame that Ubisoft is still suffering from these legacy frustrations. It's soothed somewhat by the return of upwards and downwards traversal. Holding A and B on the controller will dictate whether Basim traverses up or down, a much beloved carry-on from Assassin's Creed Unity. While the return to an older style has done the open world wonders, early impressions are that the same can't be said for the activities you end up doing during missions. In our preview, Basim was tasked with investigating a harbour master who who had apparently confiscated the property of one of his good friends, Kong. As we set out to start this mission, a trader approaches Basim and offers him information on the depot's whereabouts in exchange for a merchant favor token. Tokens are a new addition in Mirage, which can be earned through either pickpocketing crowds or helping out NPCs in the world. After giving one up for the information, he tells us that the confiscation warehouse is just to the east, past the bridge and over the river. The player is tasked to deduce the location of the confiscation warehouse themselves, based on the limited information that they know. This sort of mission design is synonymous with the likes of immersive sims, encouraging players to pay attention and engage with the world rather than follow the 3D map the whole time. A similar design philosophy ensues when reaching the confiscation warehouse, which was swarmed with armed guards that belong to the hostile caliphate, who run the city of Baghdad. Using an array of basic stealth tools like noisemakers, smoke bombs and throwing knives, I was able to clear out the camp completely, albeit with a lot of care and patience. The objective here simply explains to find information about the harbour master, with not much else to go on. A couple of small leaflets filled up the bar slightly, but I never managed to fully find the last quest objective, ultimately running around the compound like a headless chicken. What's more, once all the enemies themselves in the warehouse were taken out, a much higher level guard appeared, stalking the premises to sustain a threat. He couldn't be taken down with a single stealth hit, only taking out a sliver of his health if an attempt was made on his life. However, he could take Basim down with a single swipe, wiping the slate clean and resetting the entire mission in the meantime. This frustrating dance with the quest design of Assassin's Creed Mirage proved to be a real dampener on our preview, with concerns over whether the loose quest guidance is really earned like in immersive sims with perhaps more intentional design. We're hoping that this friction was mostly caused by us being thrown into a 15-hour save file with very limited time to get up to speed with the game's mechanics, story and setting. After all, we mustn't forget that the original Assassin's Creed game also featured a very similar obtuse mission structure, which perhaps is what Ubisoft is trying to replicate once more. Despite some mundane grumblings, Assassin's Creed Mirage does show a lot of promise. The actual mission structures are laid out in an investigation board, tasking Basim with chasing down leads and closing cases as he edges ever closer to the centre of the villainous operation. It's an engaging way to set up a story that not only harkens back to the very first Assassin's Creed, but also draws inspiration from some of the best part of the RPG series, particularly the cult of Cosmos from Odyssey. A combination of the complete refocusing of gameplay on stealth mechanics and the return of a satisfying rooftop playground to parkour across once again means Mirage really does feel like slipping into a comfy pair of old trainers. It seems that genuine effort has gone into taking Assassin's Creed back to the drawing board, figuring out what makes it tick, and building upon those bits that matter. Just like the bigger brother RPG games, Assassin's Creed Mirage might not be for everybody, but it will most certainly find an audience that it wholeheartedly appeals to. For more information on Assassin's Creed, don't forget to give us a like and a follow. I've been Ollie and I'll catch you next time.